it looks like a strike on Iran could be coming at any moment. Let's check it out. And welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. We start with breaking news. Iran has closed its airspace. The U.S. is moving troops away from military bases in the Middle East. And many countries right now are telling their citizens to get out of Iran if they can. It certainly feels like something is about to go down really at any time. It's maybe 2, 3 in the morning in Iran right now. They're 8 hours ahead. And over the last 2 weeks, the regime that has terrorized the people of Iran for the last 45 years, a very hated regime inside of Iran, has killed thousands of protesters after our president warned them not to do that. Despite an internet blackout to conceal mass murder, which is what this has been, videos of body bags have escaped the country and made their way into the West. Many inside Iran say they've never seen a moment like this inside of their country, as millions of people have risen up and the regime forces have fought back, killing so many. Bit of history here. Iran, once an incredible country. These are images of Iran from the past, from before 1979. A country destroyed by Neanderthals forcing Islamic rule, a regime that the people of the country despise, a once forward-thinking, Western-friendly country where people were free, women were educated, America was beloved. For the last 45 years, been ruled by people who pray that we all die.
اینی که شما میگید مرگ بر آمریکا یه شعار نیست صرفاً.
مرگ بر سردمداران آمریکا. مرگ بر سردمداران آمریکا.
Neanderthals, apes, hated by the majority of the people that have to live under their rule. That's a look at Iran today. In addition to this, Iran is also the #1 state sponsor of terror in the world. Many major terror groups would not exist without money that the Iranian regime steals from its own people to fund those terror groups and also to chase a nuclear weapon. Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthi rebels. The end of the Iranian regime would undoubtedly strengthen the West and the entire world, which is why the Trump administration has been working to collapse that regime financially since coming into power. That financial collapse, hyperinflation, the currency has completely collapsed, has led to the mass protests that we have seen in recent weeks, which the regime is attempting to suppress by murdering thousands of its own people. Today, the regime had planned to begin mass executions of the thousands more Iranian citizens that they have arrested over the past several weeks. This afternoon, the president said that that did not happen after he threatened that they would pay a heavy price if it did. Here's what he said.
We've been told that the killing in Iran is stopping, and it's stopped, and it's stopping. And there's no plan for executions or executions. So I've been told that a good authority. We'll find out about it. I'm sure if it happens, we'll all be very upset, including you will be very upset. But that's just gotten to me, some information that the killing has stopped, that the executions have stopped. They're not going to have an execution, which a lot of people were talking about for the last couple of days.
A moment there that maybe made the leaders of Iran say, okay, I think maybe everything's okay, but a moment that could have been said purely for deception. We'll see tonight. Richard Grenell is a presidential envoy for special missions and joins us now. And sir, it's good to have you here. Airspace closing, moving troops out, a lot of warnings from embassies to get people out of the country. It feels like something is going down tonight. What are your thoughts?
Well, it certainly feels different. I'm not that old, but for 25 years or more, I have been dealing with the Iranian issue. People older than me have been dealing with this for a very long time. I think they would have collapsed a while ago if they didn't get their billions of dollars from Obama and their billions of dollars from Biden. President Trump in the first term was very aggressive about sanctions. We did a very good job of implementing President Trump's sanctions. And now in the second term of President Trump, we're back to a president who is extremely credible in his threats. This is one person different than Joe Biden, that when you hear President Trump say something, his enemies, our opponents, even our allies know that he means business and that he has not just a threat, but a credible threat, unlike Joe Biden and unlike Barack Obama.
Obviously, it's so infuriating to think about the amount of money that we have sent to that country or freed up from sanctions for that country, and how much we assisted in the horrific things that they have done to the world, to their own people. Trump today implying that there's less pressure for American involvement in that soundbite, implying that he believed the Iranian regime when they say that the killing has stopped. Nobody actually thinks that Trump actually trusts anything that the Iranian regime says. But I guess my question is, CBS has reported the death toll could be 12 to maybe 20,000, that many killed after the president said don't kill protesters. It seems fairly obvious that the red line was crossed, that they tried to do this and hope that Trump is not a man of his word, that he's not going to take action on that. I would have thought they would have learned that lesson back in June of last year.
Yeah, the one thing that we do know is President Trump is a man of his word. And we also know that we can't get correct information from the Iranian regime. No. So I think you've got to give it a little bit of time to understand. We need to test some of these facts that are supposedly coming out. And we just need to make sure that we know what the truth is. The one thing I can tell you about President Trump and his team is that they look for the facts. They don't look for a media spin. They don't rely on reporters gossiping. They actually use intelligence and they use other information to make sure that they're making factual decisions. And so this is, a very tough situation. Right. But the one thing that we can be assured of is that President Trump is watching and protecting America.
You're not a regime change guy. I know this of you. But no matter how it happens, is the world a better place if that regime falls and those people are liberated from it?
I mean, look, I love the America First, let's not do regime change type of policies. Yeah. If there is one country that deserves regime change that you could convince me on pretty fast, it's Iran.
It's Iran. Do you think that regime is still in power in a week, in a month?
Well, I'll say this, that if they survive this, I think they can survive anything. This is the moment. And everybody feels it. I think in my lifetime, I haven't seen anything like this. So many of my friends, I live here in Los Angeles, we call it Tehrangeles. We have so many former Iranians that live here. And they are incredibly focused on 1979, what happened to them and what happened to their families. Yeah. That memory is alive. And I can tell you, as somebody who is on the Iranian sanctions list myself, this is a regime that hates anyone who speaks the truth or anyone who tries to push human rights. They want the control over the people, and they will do anything to try to hang on to that. Yeah. And I think that's a dangerous recipe when it runs up against President Trump.
Yeah, they're dangerous, really, really bad, sadistic people that run that country. Really, really rotten. Rick Grenell, the envoy for special missions at the White House. Rick, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, right before the show, actually, we had a chance to speak with the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. He's done a lot of work on Iran. Here is that moment. Take a look. All right, Secretary Bessent, thanks for coming on again. Good to see you. I want to start in Iran and these protests that actually started largely with President Trump, yourself, and this administration, because right when you guys got in the door, you started this maximum pressure campaign to work to collapse Iran's economy. I would like to ask you to talk about that and also your reaction to what we're seeing tonight as Iran has evidently closed its own airspace. Go ahead, sir.
Rob, good to be with you. And look, what's going on in Iran is the culmination, or we're quickly approaching the end game of President Trump's plan that he put into effect almost immediately when he came into office. We've been applying a maximum pressure campaign on Iran's oil exports to cut off the sources of the regime's funding. And what we have seen in the past month is a total financial collapse of the regime. We're seeing banks go out of business. We are seeing inflation. We are seeing a lack of hard currency in the economy. The Iranian leadership has been hurting the people. They have been spreading the money around the globe for proxy wars, to try to develop a nuclear weapon. And as we saw with Operation Midnight Hammer, June 22nd, when President Trump gave the order for our great B-2 pilots to end Iran's nuclear program, we continued the pressure then. And the Iranian people are now desperate because the economy has been so poorly managed, and the regime is on their back foot, and they have taken to violence. President Trump has ordered them to stop the violence or face the consequences.
Yeah, and the president indicated today, it was an interesting moment this afternoon, he indicated today that Iran has told him that the killing has stopped, which obviously Iran, all they usually do is lie. If it actually does stop, that'll mean that the uprising that we've seen over the last few weeks is going to just fully ignite. And I know those protests are continuing tonight throughout the night, and there's been millions of people protesting. You know, I don't believe that Trump actually believes what Iran says, but I also know that this could be they could be projecting something that's untrue. This administration likes to, maybe have a deception here. They did it in June when they bombed the nuclear sites. I guess the goal is to dismantle the regime. So I can't imagine that the president is now just going to back off and let the regime kind of recapture control of the country. That would be averse to what we're trying to do, right?
Well, Rob, President Trump's goal here is to stop the slaughter of the Iranian people.
Right.
And he wants to see them go back to the life they had. He repeatedly, before Operation Midnight Hammer, he repeatedly offered the Iranian leaders a chance to come forward, say that they weren't going to have a nuclear weapon, and have a great economic relationship with the United States and the rest of the world. They've completely rejected that, and that's why we are where we are. We will see what happens here, but President Trump has put down a red line that this killing of innocent civilians, which is apparently in the thousands now, unarmed people being shot in hospitals, being shot on the streets, being shot with their children. This has got to stop, and President Trump is going to see to that.
Yeah.
And Rob, the other thing, as Treasury, who carries out the sanctions, we can see is we are now seeing the rats fleeing the ship, because we can see millions, tens of millions of dollars being wired out of the country, snuck out of the country by the Iranian leadership. So they are abandoning ship, and we are seeing it come into banks and financial institutions all over the world. And what we do at Treasury is we follow the money, whether it is through the typical banking system or through digital assets. We are going to trace these assets, and they will not be able to keep them.
You'll freeze those, and yeah, they shouldn't. That regime is some of the worst people on the planet are the ones running the nation of Iran. It reminds me of Venezuela in a way. You're going to make a move here. You're going to say you have a chance, like you're doing with the vice president in Venezuela. You're going to let us kind of, control you in a way so that you run your country in a responsible manner that's fair to its people, or you're going to have a really big problem. It sounds like in Venezuela, you've got a partner that's capitulated. In Iran, you don't. So I guess I wonder, do you believe that the Iranian regime will still exist in a month?
Well, I'm not going to talk about the regime. What I want to talk about is President Trump's very strong demand that the killing of the Iranian people stops.
Yep.
And that's the United States' first goal, is to protect them. And if we look at the operation in Venezuela, we could just say this was the kind of thing the United States of America needed. This was a precision military operation, perhaps like no other. This is the mirror image of the embarrassment that was the pullout in Afghanistan under the Biden administration. If you were a foreign leader especially in one of our adversaries, and you are looking at this operation, you have to think twice about causing any trouble on the globe. Whereas with Afghanistan, it's pretty clear that the ineptitude, that poor pullout there is what caused Putin to look at the U.S., think we're weak, and move into Ukraine. Everyone now understands that the U.S. is at its pinnacle of strength.
Yeah. Yeah. I so many questions about Iran. I'm just so curious. I know you're limited on what you can say, and I know, how critical that is, to keep whatever is going on there. You might have things that you can't say on that, but it's fascinating to see this moment. I know that Iranian Americans, there's a ton of them here in this country, are hoping that this is the end of that regime, and I know just how badly I think this administration has wanted to see the end of the regime that has sponsored so much terrorism and has been such a horrific nation for the whole world for decades now. I want to move on. I want to get to tariffs. I want to also talk about Venezuela as well. 50 million barrels of oil being sold off, and that's happening, I believe, this week, right? Can you tell us what the latest is in Venezuela?
Yes, Rob. So much of it has already been sold off or is in the process of being sold off. That's being done by Energy Secretary Chris Wright, old hand in the energy industry. And, Rob, I just want to say, too, is only the cabinet that President Trump put together could have done all this. Was Secretary Rubio, the Energy Secretary Wright, and then we at Treasury are working on overseeing the finances, and that's all led by President Trump and his bold decision to go in. So what we are doing is we are accumulating assets for the Venezuelan people. We are putting it into an account. We quarantined the country's oil exports, and we are selling off the oil, going into an account for the benefit of the Venezuelan people, and the funds will likely start moving back into Venezuela as soon as tomorrow, and that will fund government operations. It will keep the security forces going, and it will get to the Venezuelan people to feed them and avoid a humanitarian crisis. What we are not doing here, Rob, is what happened in Iraq. We are not going in and the equivalent of de-Baathifying. What we are doing is we are trying to work with the remaining regime members. They are being highly cooperative. Again, having seen what happened to President Maduro, President Trump has is guiding things forward. He's in constant contact with the former vice president, now the leader of Venezuela, and tomorrow he is going to be hosting the Nobel Prize winner in the Oval, also to talk. Be talking to Machado to talk about Venezuela's future.
If I can just do 20 seconds, because I've blown the show out already with a long interview here, but Jerome Powell under criminal investigation, lying to Congress about the cost of the Federal Reserve renovations. Even a lot of people that support the president think this feels somewhat retaliatory. Tell us why it's not, the investigation into Chair Powell.
Well, a couple of things here, Rob. The Federal Reserve occupies a unique spot in the American governmental process. They have no supervision, they have no accountability, and I think that we will look at this and think that a couple of things on Chair Powell's watch. The Fed is now losing $100 billion a year, $100 billion, with no accountability. We had the worst inflation in 49 years, and we'll see what the tally ends up being, but very good chance that we will have had ethics violations over the past 4 to 6 of the regional presidents or governors, and there needs to be some accountability.
So it's an investigation. We'll leave it at that. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Hey, thanks for coming on. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you, Rob.
All right, coming up here, after Democrats claim the Minneapolis ICE agent was never hit by Renee Good's SUV, a revelation that the officer actually had internal bleeding. Okay.
Did the ICE agent get run over? Guys, the answer is no.
The grind catches up with everyone, even me. That's why I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric to support my joint health. It's the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric. It helps you keep doing the things you love at every age. Cunol, the brand I trust.
At Consumer Cellular, we only hire real humans right here in America.
That's why we're ranked #1 in customer satisfaction.
I wish I was human.
It's pretty great. Right now, get your second month free. Call Consumer Cellular.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
My dad has never been in better shape. He had a stroke and passed away. But he did an incredible thing for my family. Ethos.com. In 10 minutes, you can be covered with life insurance.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
You got better things to do than clean out clogged gutters. Call Leaf Filter today and never clean out clogged gutters again.
Leaf Filter's technology keeps debris out of your gutters for good. Guaranteed. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER today or visit leaffilter.com.
Did the ICE agent get run over? Guys, the answer is no.
The moment of potential impact was not itself caught on camera, just a noise.
I still don't see him being hit by a car.
Ran over the ICE officer, which is clearly not true.
The ICE agent walked away with a hip injury that he might as well have gotten from closing a refrigerator door with his hips. He was not injured. Give me a break. No, he was not ran over.
Lefties swear that the officer was never hit, right? Don't believe your eyes. The ICE officer that shot Renee Good is just a stone-cold murderer. PBS had one of the best, which I thought we defunded PBS, but somehow they limp along, saying the officer who appears to be knocked backward but not hit opens fire on the vehicle. So the officer was knocked backward without being hit by the car. Was it the wind of the car that threw him backwards? Yes, that's PBS. That's a headline that had to be written and then authorized by multiple people before being put on the PBS website. That's impressive. The narrative is collapsing, has now collapsed. CBS News reporting the ICE agent who fatally shot Renee Good last week in Minneapolis, Jonathan Ross, suffered internal bleeding to the torso following the incident. That would be something if he wasn't hit by the SUV, right? But wait a minute, I thought he wasn't even in front of the SUV. I thought he was on the side, just shooting in the side window and murdering somebody. DHS confirming the injuries as well. It doesn't matter, though. Democrats want ICE disbanded. They say it's an illegal police force.
We need our police officers across the country to tell ICE, you don't know what the hell you're doing. You need real police training.
What you can call ICE professional law enforcement, I don't call them none of that. I call them made-up, fake, wannabe law enforcement.
A rogue federal agent.
An occupying force?
It's time for the American people to organize and to utilize their Second Amendment right to protect themselves from what has clearly become an unaccountable and lawless agency.
Michael Fanone in his underwear screaming from his basement, trying to hold on to the relevance of 6 years ago. Renee Good's father-in-law is not buying any of this. He joined CNN and shredded the left's narrative, saying he doesn't blame ICE for what happened to his daughter-in-law. He says he saw her SUV hit the officer. Said that last night on CNN. Congressman Chip Roy joins us now. Internal bleeding, Congressman. I'd say that pretty much closes the case.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very clear what happened. Any one of us with eyes who are watching what happened, the officer clearly got hit. But what really is disturbing me here is not having to even prove the case up, right? I mean, I'm glad this news came out to demonstrate that he was actually hit. But they don't want to talk about the American people who are being saved. They don't care about the Laken Rileys. They don't care about the Jocelyn Nungareys. They don't care about the Rachel Morens. They don't care about Officer Mendoza in Arizona, all who've been killed by illegal aliens. And they don't care about the 18 thugs, gang members, criminals, murderers, rapists, rapists that ICE has taken off the streets in Minnesota alone, putting aside the rest of the country. They don't care about any of that. They want to fixate on this one incident where there was very clear evidence that she shouldn't have hit the gas, shouldn't have been directing an automobile, which is a deadly weapon, at the ICE agent, and she did it anyway. Everybody can see that if they're being honest about this, and they're not, because it doesn't fit the narrative. To your point, the narrative is collapsing because they want a specific narrative.
Yeah, well, and I have not been propagandized on this at all. I give her some of the benefit of the doubt here. I don't think she was trying to hurt that officer. I don't think she was trying to hurt anybody. I think she was just trying to be a pain in the ass. But I think she played a really stupid game, and then her little girlfriend on the outside said, floor it, get out of here, go, drive, baby, drive. And so she just floored it with a cop right in front of her car.
Well, and that's what
happens.
They don't talk about the fact that this officer was dragged in a previous incident alongside of a car by somebody.
6 months before. Yeah.
Right. They don't talk about the ICE agent that I read about yesterday who was beaten with a coffee steel mug and lacerated across his face while executing an arrest. They don't talk about all the other injuries. These guys put their lives on the line. Yeah. They are, in fact, real law enforcement officers, to challenge whoever that was who was saying otherwise, who are taking bad guys off the streets to keep us safe. So I'm going to stand with ICE. I'm going to stand right next to them all day long.
Yeah. You know, for people that, obviously most Americans were terrified by the rapid, the amount of people that we poured into this country all at once, and just how quickly we would lose the culture of this country and what we have, the fabric of our society, if you just start opening the borders to everybody. Some good news has come in, and for the first time in a half a century, we had more immigrants leave this country last year than enter. New Brookings Institute estimate, the net range for migration was between negative 295,000 and negative 10,000 for 2025. Now, I know immigration is a good thing. It can be a very good thing for this country. It has been a very good thing for this country. But after you watch millions of people, mostly from the third world, pour into your country, this is kind of cathartic to see, okay, we're pushing some people out. This was too much all at once. We needed a year like last year.
Yeah, 100%. And look, credit to the president, credit to Stephen Miller, Tom Homan, to ICE, to Kristi Noem, to Border Patrol. They've stopped the flow at the border, right? They've stopped the people coming in, and now they're removing people. And that's fantastic. And by the way, this isn't just because of the dangerous gangs and cartel members. It's not just fentanyl. All of those things are important. It's also about who we are as a country. When you have radical Islamists who want to remake America and undermine Western civilization, when you have people who are coming here that are funded by radical organizations, Marxists, the Red Green Alliance, who are trying to transform America, then it matters that we have 51.5 million foreign-born people in this country, the highest percentage in our history. Remember, in 1920, we paused immigration for about 40 years, and we rebuilt and made sure that our country was built around American values with people who wanted to assimilate into the melting pot. Now we have people who want to come here, wave Palestinian flags, wave their flag from their home country, taught by schools that want to teach America's evil. So this administration is saying, no, stop it. And God bless them from stopping that flow. And Congress needs to back them up. It's why I introduced legislation to pause immigration. It's why we need to codify the president's border initiatives under H.R. 2, the bill we passed last Congress. It's why we need to go after groups like CARE. I introduced a bill to take away their tax status because they want to undermine America. The president's doing their job, and Congress needs to back him up.
Absolutely. Also love, by the way, and we don't have time to talk about the State Department, suspending visa processing from 75 different countries because of the public charge. People that come to the country that are never going to be able to take care of themselves, that are just going to be a drain on the system. You can't have those people in the country. They're pausing 75 countries. That was a good one, too. Congressman,
100% support it.
Yeah,
thanks,
absolutely.
Rob. God bless.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, the president's 10% credit card plan. Been talking about it all week. Explained tonight by the author of the legislation, Senator Roger Marshall, up next.
Life with ear ringing sounded like a constant train whistle I couldn't escape. Then I started taking lipoflavonoid. With 60 years of clinical experience, it's the #1 doctor-recommended brand for ear ringing, and now I'm finally free. Take back control with lipoflavonoid.
As a neurologist, my patients are often concerned with age-related memory decline. I recommend Cunol Brain Health with 2 powerful, high-absorption ingredients clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe ulcerative colitis symptoms can keep coming back. Break away to what's possible with Tremfya, with rapid relief at 4 weeks. Many people experienced remission at 1 and even 2 years. Some saw 100% visible healing of their intestinal lining. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Tremfya now offers self-administration from the start. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today.
Get the life back. Okay, Regan. He's breathing. Okay.
When I saw that Ethan was not breathing, I determined that I needed to use something to remove the obstruction from his airway.
It's very important for every household to have a life vest.
Everyone should have one in their home. Anything can happen at any moment.
I want my friends and family and people that I serve to know that we have this device to potentially save lives.
Protect your family. Go to lifehack.net.
Go to lifehack.net or call 877-543-3822.
John trusts Prevagen for his brain, and this is his story.
Hi, I'm John, and I'm from Dallas, Texas. I've been producing and directing for over 50 years. It's a very detailed thing, and the pressure's all on me. My boss told me about Prevagen, and I started taking it, and I noticed a change. My confidence level is stronger. I've been taking Prevagen for more than 11 years. It just works.
Prevagen has been the #1 selling brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years.
Mike Hammond here, founder of Signal Relief. Meet Dr. Beth Dupree, breast cancer surgeon for over 35 years.
In my surgical career, I have treated thousands of patients, and finding effective pain relief has always been a priority. Believe me, I was skeptical, but Signal Relief caught my attention because it actually works. Clinical trials show over 85% of participants felt relief within 72 hours, with nearly half noticing a significant difference in just 15 minutes. Just place it near or above wherever you have the pain, whether it's your back, your shoulder, your neck, or your knee. Signal Relief Patch brings proven relief. I recommend it to my patients, family, and friends, and I get to witness and experience their pain relief firsthand, and that brings a smile to my face.
Join the hundreds of thousands who have experienced relief with the Signal Relief Patch, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Trust Dr. Dupree and me. The patch works.
I proudly called for the credit card companies to cap interest rates at 10% for 1 year because they're getting 28 and 30% and 32%. And it's unfair.
All right, the president's 10% cap on credit card interest rate plan set to take effect next week. Conservatives have a lot of concerns with the proposed idea to ask credit card companies to cap their interest rates for a full year on credit card debt. But the president has found some allies in the Senate. Republican Roger Marshall, Democrat Dick Durbin teaming up on this one, bipartisan, reintroducing their Credit Card Competition Act. They write the legislation will increase competition in the credit card market, put an end to the Visa MasterCard duopoly that's squeezing small businesses and ultimately squeezing consumers by requiring large banks with more than $100 billion in assets to enable at least 2 unaffiliated card networks. Now, the president has endorsed this, writing everyone should support great Republican Senator Roger Marshall's Credit Card Competition Act in order to stop the out-of-control swipe fee ripoff. Roger is a fantastic senator, and Senator Marshall joins us now. So as far as the 10%, is the 10% in your bill as well, or is that separate from what you're trying to do here?
Well, Rob, we're going to have 2 different bills. Okay. This president is dead serious about addressing the cost of living for hardworking Americans. So our bill will lower the cost of gas and groceries by 1 or 2%. The president's bill, by lowering interest rates to 10%, will save American families another $100 to $150. Here's the deal. There's 2 credit card companies working hand in glove. They're teaming with 5 or 6 Wall Street banks. They control over 80% of the industry. And because of that, Americans are paying 7 times more every time they use that credit card. They're getting charged 3 to 4%. Our friends over in the EU are getting charged 0.3%. And then the 20 to 30% interest rate on top of that, that's predatory lending for all practical purposes. So we're trying to help out those families that are struggling to make ends meet. The average American family carrying $7,000 of credit card debt forward each month.
You're going at this from a number of different angles, and I can appreciate that. When I heard this idea, even though I'm a proud capitalist, I believe in free markets. I liked the idea because I thought to myself, like 30%. It just seems like there are places where I think we all kind of agree that it feels very predatory, that there are places where capitalism probably needs a little slap on the wrist. I thought this was one of those areas where, 30% we have over $1 trillion in credit card debt in this country. People are getting crucified by this. But some of my favorite economists, guys that I really, really trust and respect, say that the idea interferes with the market. They hate this idea. What's your response to them specifically on the 10% cap that he's asking for 1 year?
Yeah, I wish they would come meet some of my friends and family. A single mom with 2 children at home making $40,000 a year. She's carrying $7,000 of debt forward. So the interest on that is just literally breaking her. If we drop it to 10% and she saves $150 a month, that's going to pay her electric bill. Look, I wish we lived in this ivory tower where perfect capitalism was at work, but we had these duopolies here. 2 credit cards working together, 5 or 6 banks controlling 80% of the market. It doesn't work. I wish it was working. Let's give some relief to those hardworking families.
Understood. I got a few seconds left here. Tell me about whole milk. The president had the big moment today. This was a big part of your plan. He wants whole milk back in the schools. Michelle Obama took it away from kids. You want whole milk back in schools. Is that better for kids? Tell me about it.
Absolutely. So milk is the most wholesome, nutritious drink known to humankind. Not only is it filled with essential nutrients, it also has healthy fats that nourish the brain. Our brains need those healthy fats. And then it has protein in it. And that protein sticks to your ribs, as my mom used to say, so kids don't get so hungry so quickly again. So it's a great drink. It's great to have it back in schools, to give that option to children. Because we haven't had that whole milk, kids quit drinking milk, and we have a generation of young adults that are going to have osteopenia, osteoporosis at a much younger age. So, by the way, whole milk tastes great.
It does taste good. I watched that whole press conference, and by the end, I could have chugged a gallon of milk just sitting at my desk. It was like a big advertisement for milk. He had the glass jug right there. I was like, that glass jug of milk looks great. Roger Marshall, Senator, good to see you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ron.
All right. We're going to keep an eye on Iran, obviously. Anything happens, we'll let you know as the show goes on. Also coming up, San Francisco chooses virtue signaling over fiscal reality. Reparations next.
Total Beets, America's best-selling Beets brand, is available at Walmart. Total Beets blood pressure support soft chews contain a key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. Take control of your health. Head to Walmart and get Total Beets blood pressure support soft chews today.
She's been there for you through everything. And now you're learning this next thing together. We get it. Find a caregiver who does too. When it's not you, it's care.com.
They're coming for your floors. They're coming for your furniture. They're coming for you. They're Muddy Paws. What can you do? Stop the mud before it tracks with Muddy Mat, the original patent-pending anti-mud mat for dogs. Muddy Mat traps all the dirt, liquid, and mud in just 1 step. Nothing but love coming for you now. Muddy Mat is 5 times more absorbent than other doormats. Look, the surface is completely dry. This one Muddy Mat holds an entire bucket of water and all the liquid stays in until you squeeze it out. The secret is millions of super absorbent Mudlock fibers that literally suck away all the mud, dirt, and liquid from your pet's paws. It's like having something that cleans each paw every time they come back inside. No more old towels, mopping, or sweeping, just petting and pleasing. Muddy Mat's unique non-slip grip and low-profile design won't curl or bunch. Perfect for any high-traffic area of your home. Muddy Mat's elegant design enhances any space, and the soft, comfortable feel is a treat for your pet any place. Use Muddy Mat under their bowls to catch spills. At your dog washing station, keep the floors from getting slippery. Even in your SUV to keep your interior dirt-free. Muddy Mat easily shakes out and is safe to use in your washer and dryer. And here's the best part. Muddy Mat is available in so many sizes and colors. There's a Muddy Mat for everyone. You can get yours right now in our most popular size and save over 70%. That's just $19.95 in your choice of colors. color. And it comes with our 100% money-back guarantee. But to make this the cleanest offer on TV, buy 2 Muddy Mats today and get 1 completely free. Stop the mud before it tracks. Call or go online to getmuddymat.com. That's getmuddymat.com.
A new year brings new threats, and Cyberman's ready for every one of them. While hackers plot their next move, Cyberman's already there, protecting families, businesses, and governments before danger can strike. This year, protect what matters most with easy-to-use, award-winning protection. With PCmatic, you get American-made protection that's faster, smarter, and stronger. Start 2026 with confidence. Visit PCmatic.com today.
Are you starting to slow down and feeling past your prime? Then stop and listen to this. It's time for Strong Cell, a NADH supplement that boosts my natural energy and sharpens my focus.
Strong Cell's proprietary microbead encapsulation delivers NADH past your gut to fuel your cells, boosting energy, focus, heart health, and healthy aging.
Gives me a boost of energy.
More to focus.
I'm telling you, I love it.
Healthier cells mean a healthier you.
Save 20% now at strongcell.com.
Welcome back. Woke San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie taking virtue signaling to a whole new level, signing an executive order establishing reparations, which could one day grant the city's eligible black residents up to $5 million in compensation for slavery. So a city that never had slaves and a state that never had slaves, compensating people who were never enslaved. Sounds like a good plan, right? Those who would be eligible must have self-identified as black or African American on public documents for 10 years, born in or migrated to San Francisco between 1940 and 1996, lived there for at least 10, descendants of someone enslaved before 1865, and a member of a historically marginalized group that experienced discrimination between 1937 and 1968. So they put a lot of guardrails around this. Why? Because they don't have any friggin' money. The mayor is asking for private donations, foundations, and other non-city sources to fund this, given that the city is $1 billion in debt, a budget deficit of $1 billion. That is a lot for a city, by the way. Trish Regan, host of The Trish Regan Show, joins us now. Alex Marlow, editor-in-chief of Breitbart News. Good to have you both. Trish, what do you think of Daniel Lurie's plan?
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's completely wacky. The city can't afford it. You mentioned the budget shortfall of nearly $1 billion over the next 2 years. I mean, they're just trying to buy votes, for goodness sakes. That's what this is all about. And by the way, aren't we done with DEI? We just elected Donald Trump. Thank you very much. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. We need to move on. And they want to take us back into identity politics to divide, and buy some votes along the way.
Alex, what would the Democrat Party have if it didn't have victimhood?
No, nothing. That's all this is. And it really is a masturbatory thing because it's not real. None of this is real life. You made all the key points there, Rob, in your intro. First of all, it was a free state. And as a Californian, we're proud that we're a free state. We get to say that. It's one of the few things we get to be proud of out here. Second of all, there's no way to determine, they're not going to go to the effort of determining, was this person actually a descendant of slave heritage? And why should people who came here after slavery who are white and might be poor pay rich black people with no connection to slavery? They won't answer that question because they don't have to. And they don't have the money. There is no money to pay for any of this stuff. California is so stupid now. They announced that they're trying to do a wealth confiscation tax. And then all these Silicon Valley billionaires just left. They can't even pull that tax off. It'll probably never happen. But they just announce it as if to shoot themselves in the foot. Like we're intentionally trying to get the wealthy people to leave.
Yeah. The comedy is there's going to be black Americans in San Francisco that are not descendants of slavery, that are not eligible for this, that are going to have to pay the people that are going to get the reparations. So you're going to have other African Americans paying, the reparation payment, which is the comedy of the whole thing. I got a wild moment on Capitol Hill today, a hearing on the use of chemical abortion drugs. The doctor here, Nisha Verma, cannot answer if men can or cannot get pregnant.
Do you think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was.
The goal is just the truth. So can men get pregnant?
Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the goal of the question is.
The goal is just to establish a biological reality. You just said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics. Absolutely. So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant?
I take care of people with many identities.
And then just one more quick one. Yesterday's Supreme Court hearing, you had an ACLU lawyer who could not define a man or a woman.
What does it mean to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
We do not have a definition for the court.
How can a court determine whether there's discrimination on the basis of sex without knowing what sex means for equal protection purposes?
She's there to argue about discrimination against the sexes. She doesn't know what the sexes are. Pretty interesting. Trish, I thought we beat all of this into submission in the last election, but I can feel it creeping back up.
You know what? It's good for us. It's good for us, right, Rob, Alex? I'll take it, because the more you keep beating that into people, the more they're going to say, I've had it. I don't need this. This party's not for me. I don't believe in this ideology at all. And maybe we need a few more biology and science classes, in our American education system, since everybody seems so confused about all this stuff. It's really kind of gross. I mean, I'm offended. I'm just going to tell you, as a woman, I'm really proud that I can have children. I have 3 of them. I wish I had more. I love kids, right? And it's one of the unique, most extraordinary things you can do. I'm sorry. What, you want to take that away from us too? For goodness sakes, the Democrat Party has done nothing but actually keep women down constantly. And this is just another version of that. You want to talk about misogyny and sexism? There you go. You're going to take away the one thing we absolutely can do, and you guys never can.
They control women with the abortion vote, and they can just batter them with all of their policies because of that. I think they know they have the loyalty based on that, and that's how they run it. Alex, final thoughts.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Cheapens what it means to be a woman. But like Trish, I love this stuff. Show this to every person who might even consider voting for a Democrat. This is the normative mainstream viewpoint, the American left right now, is that women do not exist. They don't know how to define them. They don't respect them, and it cheapens everything. Yeah, you had a lawyer in front of the Supreme Court and a doctor in front of Congress. These are not unintelligent people that can't answer that question. Anti-science. They're just crazy. Good to see you. Alex and Trish, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Remembering Michael Regan, who passed away this month, one of the founding contributors of our TV channel and our website, Newsmax.com. Michael was more than the eldest son of President Reagan, but a best-selling author, syndicated radio host, and a powerful advocate for faith, family, and a strong America. Today, he was laid to rest. America is going to miss him. We will, too, here at Newsmax. He authored the best-selling book, Lessons My Father Taught Me, a personal account of growing up with his dad, Ronald Reagan, the values that were instilled in him. It's available on Amazon, bookstores. You can check it out with a free offer from Newsmax right there. All right, still following Iran, of course. Also, Trump's middle finger to a factory floor lunatic has the left going wild.
It kind of feels like that middle finger was directed at all of us.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. Do you know which investment has outperformed almost every other asset class since the beginning of last year? And that Goldman Sachs research is now forecasting to reach further heights. That's right, it's gold. Central banks around the world continue to buy gold at record levels due to economic turmoil, foreign conflicts, and a weakening U.S. economy plagued by debt. If you're concerned how to protect yourself as our financial system weakens, our team at Swiss America has a solution. For over 40 years, we've helped people just like you purchase precious metals for home delivery and for your IRAs. Don't miss out before this next big price jump. Call or text Swiss America at the number on your screen to receive your free portfolio review and a copy of The Timeless Truth About Gold and Silver. Let us show you how easy it is to safeguard your money. Call or text Swiss America today.
Well, the season of giving is over. Ho, ho, ho. Welcome to the season of paying for it. That not-so-wonderful time of the year when millions of Americans who went overboard for the holidays open up their credit card statements, scream in terror, and resolve to save a few bucks in the new year. If that sounds like you, why not switch to Pure Talk Saver Plan? Unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data for just $20 a month. Think of it as the gift of savings, from you to you, with a little help from Pure Talk.
I really love Balance of Nature.
There's so many vegetables and so many fruits.
I love everything about it.
It's just such a phenomenal product. So, got to keep doing it.
Lock in 50% off for 1 year.
This is keratin debris, where nail fungus grows. Nonix Nail Gel cleans out fungus by removing keratin debris. Using Nonix, 90% of nails improve. Get clinically proven results. So effective, it's money-back guaranteed.
You're careful about what you bring home when shopping, especially when it comes to feeding your family. Shouldn't your investments work the same way? At Timothy Plan, we offer a wide selection of mutual funds and ETFs that can help you allocate assets without compromising your values. From technology to healthcare, energy to real estate, our funds are not only diverse but uncompromising to your values. Timothy Plan funds are filtered to avoid companies involved in abortion, pornography, human trafficking, and other harmful agendas. What you invest in should reflect what you stand for. Are your investments bearing good fruit? What's in your portfolio? Contact your financial advisor today to find out, or contact Timothy Plan directly at 1-800-TIM-PLAN to discover more. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. TMZ got the video of Trump flipping off the Ford employee TJ Sabula during a trip yesterday to the Ford plant in Michigan. Sabula had shouted at Trump that he's a pedophile protector, angry over the Epstein files. Trump responding by mouthing F you twice, then giving him the finger. Sabula telling the Washington Post he definitely has no regrets whatsoever, but he's fearing that he'll be targeted for political retribution for embarrassing Trump in front of his friends. And of course, as you probably thought, this is all just a scam. There's a pair of GoFundMe campaigns for this idiot now, more than $800,000 for him after he was suspended by Ford. Look at all of that money for this jackass. The media, of course, having a meltdown at the moment. Take a look.
Trump flipped him the bird a couple of times and used the F word on him. That is not what I call presidential.
This is the least presidential person to hold office in our lifetime.
I mean, look, that worker was honestly speaking on behalf of the American people.
The actions of the administration betray a lack of discipline.
The whole episode just kind of perfectly sums up his posture toward the country. It kind of feels like that middle finger was directed at all of us.
Big Red is such a bad host over at MS Now. She's got to be the worst one they got. I don't know. It's amazing to watch her try so hard to be good and just fails every night. You know what? Everybody loved that moment, and the reason we like to talk about moments like that is because that's the reality of Trump. Because that's exactly what you or I would do if somebody screamed like that at you. You'd say F you. And he's real. He's not a politician. He's not like Joe Biden that gets screamed at and pretends like he can't hear it and just walks away. He stands up for himself. He's a real person. I respect that. Next up, Oprah has completely lost her mind as she gets older. Here she is explaining away a problem that she has long fought.
All these years, I thought I was overeating. I thought that was because of me and my fault. Yeah. Now I understand that if you carry the obesity gene, if that is what you have, that is what makes you overeat. You don't overeat and become obese. Right. Obesity causes you to overeat.
Honey, that's not it. It's not a gene. You go back 75, 100 years ago, everyone in this country was skinny. Our problem is we eat too much and we eat too much bad food. And that's as simple as that. Stop trying to blame someone else. All right, finally, HHS Secretary RFK Jr. poking some fun at the president's horrific eating habits, kind of on the same token here, saying he's not sure how our president is even still alive.
Who has the most unhinged eating habits?
The president. The interesting thing about the president is that he eats really bad food, which is McDonald's, and then, candy and Diet Coke. But he drinks the Diet Coke all times. He has the constitution of a deity. I don't know how he's alive, but he is.
I don't know how he's alive. Makes us, remember this picture? This was during the transition. Kennedy on board eating McDonald's, kind of forced into it with Elon and the whole gang there. Those were fun times. And by the way, the president's properties have some of the best food. The golf courses, Mar-a-Lago, some of the best food I've ever tasted. All right. Sticking with food a little bit, Trump offers the fake news media some curdled milk. Next.
Omaha Steaks is America's original butcher.
Hold on, steak voiceover guy. I got this. Omaha Steaks is America's original butcher. But what's that mean? It means all these steaks are USDA certified tender.
Well, she's right.
Yeah, they love it. I love that they love it. This is why you get Omaha Steaks.
Right now, get 4 USDA certified tender steaks free when you visit omahasteaks.com/tender.
Skip the grocery store and
skip the grocery store and get Omaha Steaks today.
AI can turn your lights on.
Lights on.
And drive your car. And even write your kid's essay. But AI ain't gonna fix your broken water line or pay for the big repair bill. Having a plan from HomeServe offers real solutions. And when a covered system breaks, we'll send a qualified contractor and pay for the repair. There's nothing artificial about the peace of mind you get with a plan from HomeServe. Getting one is quite intelligent.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $4.99 a month.
Call 1-844-752-2141 or visit homeserve.com.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit, total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 five-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
Ring in the new year with a kitchen designed to wow. Explore our quality kitchen cabinet collections to find the well-crafted style you want for less. With 0% APR for 48 months. Hurry, offer ends soon. Only at Cabinets to Go. Designed to wow.
This little light of mine, in the dark found a hopeful sign.
For those with depression not getting enough relief from their antidepressant, adding Caplyta can help you let in the light, providing greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone. And unlike some medications, Caplyta is also proven to deliver significant symptom relief from both bipolar 1 and 2 depression.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
Help see more of the light inside of me.
And finally tonight, the president signing the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act today, making an appropriate offer to the media he so despises.
We have some milk here. It's been sitting here for 5 days, so. It's from the original bottle, and I brought it so the press can have some. You can swig it all out of the If you'd like to, if you trust the person that you're drinking after, it's right here. It's yours, okay? It's semi-fresh, 5-6 days old.
A little curdled milk, Rob Finnerty, for the media that he loves so much. That was actually a funny press conference.
Well, when they, we've got some of that too. And when they say like Donald Trump's got dementia, they try to compare him to Joe Biden, which is just like laughable. Then he does something like that. Could you ever imagine Joe Biden doing that, let alone like making an actual joke?
No.
Never
Biden
happened.
would ask, what's in that bottle?
Yeah, never happened. Thanks, Rob.
Good to see you.